That's right. We're gonna record this for the sake of the future. Whoa, 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 what happened? Is that a helicopter falling out of the sky? Machia, you missed! Thank you to our $5 patrons, Redwolf4765, Midnight Gemlord, and Sean. Thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Redwolf4765. And a very big thank you to our $25 patron, Alex Ice Rose. Now, we're on this breakdown / review of chapter 384 of My Hero Academia. Please remember you're almost on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification so when we out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, you do a Patreon below. Each support video as $1 a month, exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reaction to this very chapter. Now, let's hop into chapter 384. What's up, guys? Here we are to review chapter 384 of My Hero Academia, which is known as It's a Small World After All. It's a small world. Enough! Anything but that. If you get that reference, yeah, you probably should. I think you should. I think you should. It shouldn't be too outlandish. But regardless, we got a pretty W chapter here. I may have been clowning on it a little, a lot, but it's a W chapter. You know, I'm about to say something like English makes it all the better, but no, just being able to read it at all makes it all the better. But let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. So we open up and we do get to see that Machia is letting it rip, called a Beyblade, as he rips a piece of mountain out of the ground and just lobs it. Like, legitimately, the raw strength of this creature is so unbelievably impressive. Like, especially considering he's like a weird quirk bioengineered thingamajig. Like, dude's towering over trees. Bro's picking up pieces of earth and lobbing them like baseballs. Like, legitimately, the raw power that is contained within this creature is so impressive. And it's so wild to think that he'd get one tapped by like Shigaraki or Midoriya right now. Like, legitimately, bro's fodder. like think about it logistically. If Midoriya were to hit Gigantomachia with a quintuple smash to the jawline, Machia is probably not going to do the living anymore. If Shigaraki pulled up and just swung with all his might, Machia is probably not going to do the living anymore. You get Prime All For One. Actually, maybe not. I don't know. Prime All For One. For some reason, it's taking forever to just take care of this fodder. So maybe he ain't like that. But get Prime All Might up in here, and he's smacking Machia too. It's crazy to think that this beast of such insane, pretty much like mythological power. Like, bro's moving like Typhoon did, throwing mountains at the gods and stuff like that. That's how bro's moving like this. And he's fodder. Those show you how powerful the verse really is. Like, obviously, I don't think it's like one of the most powerful new gen verses. There are a bunch of them that are stronger. Like, I'd say Seven Deadly Sins is stronger. I'd say something like Fire Force is stronger. You can even make a pretty strong argument that certain characters in JJK may just power clip the whole verse. But even still, we gotta put respect on MHA's name. Like, characters that are town level are not throwing around chunks of mountain like this and just casually eating and blocking the hits. However, with that being the case, we do see that Machia is yelling halfway because, you know, he's probably straightening himself a little bit by throwing a mountain, but also because Hawks is a bit worried. It's like, this is a bit risky, right? Did Shinso brainwash him into fighting on our side, like you should have done since the start of the war? Like, why didn't you open with this? Like, notably, we have a reason for why they hypothetically didn't open with this, but there's still fundamentally, archetypically, no reason why Shinso should not have had this man under control round start. Like, we should have opened, and Gigantomachia should have been one of us. Nah, but like, legitimately, there's no reason for bro to have been a lingering asset. If you had Shinso here this entire time, you should have just had him pop off. Like, from round start, have him pop off. But regardless, you know, that's a last chapter problem. This is not a this chapter problem. We're kind of just left to deal with the after effects of it. We do get to see that with Tokiyami. Oh, that wasn't even Hawks. That was Tokiyami. Tokiyami asking the question, like, is this a good idea to have this literal walking mountain man throwing mountains at us when we have multiple innocents? Because, like, you got to think about it. Sure, they flew a bit away from all the other heroes, but, like, it's not like they're fighting in a void. There are other people here, and Machia is throwing mountains. Like, what if he misses? Like, legitimately, like, what if he just misses? We know bro could, like, do extreme damage just by walking through places. He's lobbing mountains now. We sure this is safe? However, we do get to see that Hawks is like, yeah, that's what we've bet on. Mountain Lady's protecting Machia, but don't know why this is such a hilarious image, because I still can't get the image out of my head of Machia straight grabbing Mount Lady and throwing her like a paperweight. So like, to think that Mount Lady is now protecting Machia. And it's even crazier to think about. We don't know how far the facility that Machia being held at was, or how far All For One traveled from the original province that he was in when they first teleported him there. But the fact that Machia and Mount Lady just hit the hardest of sprints from whatever location they were at to reach here and start lobbing mountains and throwing wrenches, it's crazy to think about. Like, they really did the dash and made it go fast. Forget the fame. All they want is them bands, and they're going to hit All For One and prove that they're the mans. Because golly, dog, that is insane, the velocity. And speaking of the velocity, we see that the velocity of All For One is currently pretty neutral. He's trying to defend himself against all these different adversaries, from Mount Lady swinging a gigantic wrench, to Machia throwing mountains at him, to even Tokoyami still reaching out with a prime dark shadow holding him back. And with all this being the case, he's in a pretty rough spot. And still, I do think it's kind of stupid. Like, I bring it up all the time whenever we talk about this All For One fight or whenever we cut to it, but like, it is kind of dumb to me that All For One, literally one of the most powerful beings in his prime, not anymore, he's obviously back to a teenager, so he's likely way weaker, but in his prime, stood around for 15 years and then was actually being pressed by any of these people. Like, legitimately, he was in the form that rivaled Prime All Might, if not stronger, because like, legitimately, All Might fight All For One. All Might fight All For One. All Might fought All For One when he was already a pretty old man. Sure, they weren't both old men, but I think All For One was like 60 when he fought All Might in All Might's prime, and he still managed to do a decent amount of damage to All Might. No, the All For One we were seeing appeared to be like 30-year-old, I go to the gym every day, I stole multiple buff people's quirks All For One. And you're telling me he managed to be held back by these fodder? And he's sticking around? Like, legitimately, if I'm All For One, once again, I know I'm always just plugging my controller into the characters' butts and being like, yeah, I'm going to control them. If I'm All For One, I'm flying high into the sky. Like, fly like an eagle, like straight up, going straight up, because none of them would be able to catch me. Sure, Machia, lob this mountain straight into the air and try and hit me with it. Good luck with that. Go ahead, Mount Lady, throw away your only weapon, that big old wrench. Watch me dodge it. Tokoyami, you can try and fly up here if you really about that. Go ahead, try and fly up here, try and chase me. Because legitimately, this man could just leave at any moment. And considering one of the biggest things we see here is that the rewind energy is still flowing around him, he's in what appears to be like at best, like a late adult stage in terms of his like physical development, and possibly a teenager if we're being completely honest. And he's still sticking around. Like, this is like the worst case scenario of what he could be doing. He could just be gone. Like, legitimately, there's no reason to be sticking around and having casual conversation with this group of individuals. He could just boom and be in a different dimension by now. But, you know, gotta have a plot. I still think, like, overall, I'm sorry, I'm going on this huge All For One rant, as I always do. But I kind of have to talk about it, because this is the time, too. I feel like Horikoshi just didn't know exactly what to do with All For One. Like, he brought him back once again for the plot twist in the war arc, but then we already see that he reneged that for pretty much no reason in the fight back at the UA. And now he's kind of just like wrapping up something that he needs to wrap up because he brought the original body back. Like, he could have just left the original body in jail, or just had the original body be disabled from getting beaten down again. Like, there was no, at least in my mind, there's no like concrete reason to bring All For One back, because it just overcomplicated the narrative in so many ways. And now we have things like this. Sure, if I shut my brain off and just like big cool monster men fighting alongside big cool monster woman fighting alongside big dark scary boy with wind guy in the background whipping up tornadoes against literal demigod in teenage form, yeah, it's metal, but like, it's only metal. Like, it's not metal, and I can stroke my beard philosophically and be like, yes, this is the deep underlying implications of how hero society and villain society interact and rely upon each other in order to make an ever-ending and self-perpetuating cycle that shall ever be destructive and destroyed until the hero society and villain society themselves fall apart and need to give birth to a new world of different heroes and different villains, if the concepts of hero and villainy exist at all anymore. Like, this isn't that. It's just cool stuff. And, like, it's fine. I like cool stuff. Once again, Horikoshi's art is so top tier and beautiful that you literally... once again, I kind of Like, we as Kingdom Hearts fans always joke Yoko Shimomura could like sneeze into a tin can and bada bing bada boom, you have track of the year in terms of video game music. But in terms of like manga artists, Horikoshi could throw a box of crayons at a wall and it would still probably somehow turn to be the most peak piece of art that I've ever witnessed within the week. But with that being the case, I still want a little substance. I still want a little bit logic. I still want these characters to operate within how they've been set up. Like, All For One, the one we knew, the guy who went into hiding for multiple once at a time just to recover and grow and prepare himself. The guy who waited years upon years upon years for this plan to happen and has shown that he's more than willing to just run if a need be. He's not doing this in character, especially when his life is at stake and he has one last thing he can do within this body before he loses control of Shigaraki forever. He's not doing this. That's the thing. Not only is it just cool stuff for the sake of cool stuff, but it's cool stuff that goes against the characters that are established, especially in terms of All For One, who is a very simple character. We know how he would operate because we've seen it. So, very, very iffy on this. But you got to do what you got to do. You got to take what you got to take. And we do get to see that All For One, being All For One is like, wow, that's crazy. I was wondering how they managed to save me and get past me, like with the Ayama family. That was so strange. Those sneaky deekies, those funny individuals. They think they're slick. They think they're better than me. They're heroes. They used a mind manipulating quirk. That's how they answered it. You sneaky players. You silly goofies. You goofy sillies. You just like me, for real. And I don't know why. Like, once again, I'm not the biggest fan of All For One's character. I love Shigaraki infinitely more, and I do love the many interactions of All For One. If you had to ask me, if I had to hop timelines, and the only difference would be that All For One just didn't come back in the narrative after he was defeated in Kamino, and Shigaraki destroyed his original body or something like that, I would definitely prefer that timeline. But I still do like All For One, being the silly, goofy, evil mastermind, be that's something that I would do. That's amazing. I love little things like that. Once again, there's still some good character work. Horikoshi can still make great characters. He wrote Endeavor. Trust me, I know Horikoshi can cook when Horikoshi feels like cooking. It's just sometimes he forgets to turn the stove on. And we do get to see that Hawks is like, uh-oh, Hitoshi Shinso's brainwashing can be broken with a strong physical attack. He's gonna smack the taste out of Maki's mouth. And he doesn't say that. That's presumably what he means. A strong physical attack. I guess that is true. Because we know that's what Midoriya did to himself. He flicked himself and somehow didn't annihilate his entire body. But with that being the case, it's interesting to see Hawks realizing that and that there's nothing you can do about it. And we see as All For One's yeah, that's just something that I would do. I would absolutely manipulate the wills of lesser people and prove that we as villains and heroes are not that different when it comes to achieving our goals. I do like that. Once again, the idea that in reality, no matter how much the heroes parade about being better, being truer, being greater, which they are, admittedly, once again, still can't feel bad for Toga, or Twice, or Dabi, or any of them because they are slaughtering innocents. But with that being the case, it shows that on a fundamental level, these two sides are interconnected. When push came to shove, when it came to quote-unquote saving the world in the best way possible, the heroes didn't take an ethical route. They used the meta ability of somebody else to manipulate a family that was already being manipulated by a villain. So it's kind of would you use evil to defeat evil? And the answer is going to be yes. And sure, you could argue Shinso's quirk isn't evil. It isn't wrong to do that, and it's the only way that you could have gotten around All For One. But if I were to tell you a group of people brainwashed a family into lying to someone that they had connections with in order to make sure that they could jump that person that they got connections with, the family has connections with, would that sound heroic? Would that sound right to you? No, and that's okay. Trust me, I like the dichotomy between heroes and villains, and I like how All For One can even acknowledge that. Something that, oh yeah, we're on the same wavelength there. That's exactly what I would do. I like that. It shows a good time between the two. But I wonder if, the hypocrisy of heroes will ever be addressed any deeper than, oh yeah, you're violent too. Sure, there are different levels of the violence and different reasons for the violence. Heroes are usually violent in response, meanwhile, villains are violent initially. And once again, same thing with the mind manipulation. All For One manipulates inherently, while the manipulation of the heroes only came as a counterbalance to All For One's own manipulation. So trust me, I get it. But that tie between heroes and villains, the things that make them not so different. I wonder if we're ever going to get a deep dive with that. If there's any time we'd get a deep dive with it, it would be the Shigaraki versus Midoriya fight. So I'm assuming we're going to get stuff like that there. But right now would be a good time for it too. But obviously we're fighting a demigod, so we ain't got time for that. And we do get to see that apparently it's Kirishima's job to somehow defend against a literal deity. Because all for one, he hits Machia with the biggest... he hits him with the, "You fool!" I can't do the Goku voice. "You fool!" And just blasts him with a gigantic blast of energy. And we do get to see Machia is essentially under the risk of being all for one's puppet again. If this big old physical attack works, and Machia is knocked free of Shinso's brainwashing, either because Shinso gets damaged or Machia gets damaged enough, then this asset became a massive liability, as now they're dealing with 2 demigods instead of 1. But we do get to see, as Machia is not back in time. I am, in fact, a fibber, not back in time. He literally just got hit in the face. And we do get to see that all for one, he may have made a mistake or two, because Machia does, in fact, recognize him, as he says, what's a Machia voice? You look different. You look different, boss man, but my sense of smell. No. Yes, I'm doing that voice for Machia. You look different, boss man, but my sense of smell tells me it's you. On for one, my master, I've been waiting for you. So I got a question. Why? Why did you abandon me? I was a good old puppy dog waiting down there by the corner, right where you told me to, and it's been months, weeks, years. I ain't even got a concept of time no more. It's been so gosh darn long. So why'd you abandon me? And like, at first, I was gonna clown on Machia for this, because I'm like, dude, wait a second. He didn't abandon you. Like verbatim, you do realize the only reason you are now free and roaming the earth at all is because he didn't abandon you. Like, he sent a whole group of people, dedicated a whole section of people to freeing you specifically. Because he cares about you, that, and he doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about anything. But he at least sent a whole group of people to free you because he knew you'd be an asset. It was the heroes that you are currently fighting alongside that are holding you hostage, one of which is literally brainwashing you. Or at least was, until you got smacked in the mouth by the guy who freed you just here and just now. So the fact that Machia is on this, why did you abandon me? Like, technically he didn't. Like, you just got, you unfortunately, once again, going back to the hero's immoral actions, you unfortunately just got ganked and then drugged by, like, a legal substance. We still don't know what Yorozu actually made, or why she knows how to make illegal substances, but she did, and you got a whole pint of that, like, straight to your jaw, bruh. All for one didn't want to abandon you, but he also, while he was extremely damaged by a whole bunch of heroes and currently possessing a body, just barely, he couldn't have picked you up and dragged you somewhere. You had been jumped and restrained. So he didn't abandon you then. When he told you to leave and wait, he's going to come pick you up later, or Shigaraki is going to come pick you up later. That was true. He didn't abandon you then. He just told you to wait because he had to go into hiding. And now he isn't abandoning you here. He's actually straight up asking for your help. So I kind of don't get what Machia is going on about here. I think maybe this is accidental on Hori's part. Like, maybe he thought that I would believe that Machia feels abandoned, but he shouldn't. He realistically shouldn't. All that All For One has done has been for Machia. But though in the same way that all For One has done has been for Shigaraki, yeah, it's purely for the manipulation, but it's not. Like, admittedly, my thing here is that Machia isn't asking, why have you manipulated me? Why have you turned me into this thing? I'm only realizing now, after having the clarity of being freed from brainwashing and having all the memories come back to me. I didn't want this. I just wanted to be your loyal homeboy. But you turned me into a big old mountain dog with 15 different quirks. This is all painful and agonizing. Why would you do this to me? I can now never exist in a regular society for the monster you have made me. No, he's not saying that. He's not mad that All For One did any of that. He's mad that All For One, quote unquote, abandoned him, even though All For One just didn't do that. So, Maki, you tripping, dog. You tripping. Like, and note, I am far from on All For One's side. Endeavor stand till the day I go. But, like, Maki, you tripping, Brody. I think, legitimately, I see what Hori was going for. Like, I see what he was attempting to cook, but I think you should have tackled it from a different angle. Like, if you're gonna have Machia work alongside the heroes officially, which is essentially what this is, even if he's not, quote unquote, an ally, the enemy of my enemy is my ally. So, might as well be. I think Hori could have done it better. Or just keep him under brainwashing control. You don't have to free him here. But I'm not 100% rocking with it. And we even see All For One looks at Machia like, what in the world are you talking about? Like, you're free now because of me. But we do get to see that Hawks is like, is Shinso forcing Machia to speak like he did with the Aoyamas? But that can't be. He didn't have a chance to brainwash Machia again, so what's going on? What's going on is that Horikoshi's forgetting his own narrative. But the thing is, the weird thing is, right, is that we directly flash back to All For One even straight up saying, "My beloved Machia, unfortunately, I have to go into hiding, but eventually my successor will come to look for you. Having to leave your side breaks my heart to pieces." And trust me, I was a proud owner of 2 doggos. 2 wonderful, beautiful doggos. That guy with a dog, times 2. They were beautiful, wonderful creatures. And I felt bad every time I had to leave them. If I had to go to work, if I had to leave for school, anytime I had to leave them, I felt bad. Because they'd always be like, "Dude, where are you going? Wait, don't do this to me. Please, don't do this." And like they would look at me with their big doe eyes, and it would feel so bad, but I'd have to go. And the thing is, just like All For One, I always ended up coming back. I always came in the clutch for them. I was with them till their final moments. Like, Maki, what are you like, I don't exactly get what he's spazzing over right now. Especially considering All For One seemed to genuinely care. Like, obviously he doesn't. Like, trust me, I'm not foolish enough to believe that for an instant, a second of a fraction of a second fraction, that All For One actually genuinely cared about Machia. But Machia should be, this is gonna sound bad, he should be stupid enough to believe that All For One did. Like, All For One was hitting Machia with some top tier gaslighting. Like, he said, "My beloved Machia." You don't call anyone but your dog or the love of your life my beloved. You just don't do that. And Machia was the ultimate dog person, admittedly. So I'm not exactly sure. I'm not rocking with it. I'll go with it because I guess giving Machia a character this late into the game is fine. I'm always for more character than less character, but the character should at least be consistent. I think there are a couple ways Horikoshi could have tackled this. Either A, the earlier thing, Machia is just finally realizing what he is and what he's become and how far he's fallen, and he's mad that All For One sort of just led them down this path of darkness. And or you could have it so that the multiple quirks inside Machia are kind of rebelling, because we know that multiple quirks have weird interactions with Shinso anyway, and we know Machia has like dog quirks, energy enhancement quirks, refreshing quirks, transformation quirks, growth quirks. He has so many quirks inside of him, and since we know that quirks do have people in them, it would be fine if Machia's personality was sort of being like overwritten by these people, and now they're mad at All For One, and now they're sort of like hijacking the body from the main Machia. That'd be one thing, but I say specifically having Machia believe that he was abandoned by All For One, even though the only reason he's no longer being heavily sedated and is allowed to walk free at all is because of All For One. I don't know. Am I tripping? Am I missing something here? Like, am I wrong? Which I can be. Like, trust me, I've just been blatantly wrong before. I've been corrected by y'all in the past, so I'm more than happy to be corrected here. I think this is just a wrong move by Horikoshi, because this doesn't make sense within the context, because All For One never abandoned Machia. In fact, he trusted Machia enough to be an asset for a successor and to consistently come back and help him. So I'm not sure. But we do get to see. And then Machia proceeds to exclaim, "While the body of my successor, your successor, that found me was different, it still had your voice and smell." Which is ironic, because it didn't. Like, unless he's referring to... Let me see. What's that flashback? I'm not sure. I can't necessarily tell. Still had your voice and smell. Like, I get that if it was Shigaraki after being possessed by All For One, but notably the Shigaraki that Machia first encountered shouldn't have smelled like All For One at all. Definitely not had his voice either. All For One's voice is deep, smooth, and buttery. Meanwhile, Shigaraki's voice is... So, like, legitimately, I'm not exactly sure how Machia could say that, unless he's talking about the post one, the one that was in the end of the first war, but still, I don't know, seems strange. However, we do get to see that Machia believes, I could tell it was really you, All For One. I trusted your words and I waited so long, but you abandoned me, master. You never came back," which is just explicitly wrong. Like, sure, he didn't come back to free you himself, but he still went out of his way to free you. He didn't have to do that. Sure, you are much more of an asset than a liability to him before this, but like, he came back. He explicitly came back. You just got ganked. Like, I hate to say it, but you just got ganked. Like, it's not All For One's fault that you got ganked, and then he came and freed you, and now you're betraying him. Like, if I was All For One, I'd be mad. Like, I'd just take the quirks back. Like, legitimately, that would probably be my issue. If I was All For One, I heard this sheer betrayal after wasting my time and assets trying to free you from your prison, yeah, I'm taking everything back, dog. You ain't throwing mountains at me. However, we do get to see that Machia, as he goes on to scream with his beautiful southern drawl, we see that the blast for Shinso was blocked by Kirishima. Shouts to my goat Kirishima. I'm not exactly sure where this scales him, though. Like, Legitimately, I have no idea how powerful this teen All For One is. Not sure if he's lost quirks, not sure if he's lost raw strength. I don't think he's as powerful as Prime, and I highly doubt he's even as powerful as the old All For One, just because he has less and less control over his body, and he's in a much younger vessel. And we do get to see that Shinso even points out, first Midoriya, and now Machia. They're the only ones to ever resist my brainwashing. Even when I had Machia under my control, he was muttering about being betrayed, which he wasn't. Still don't get that. But with that being the case, that's how you could have spun that alternate narrative. You could have had it so that this isn't actually Machia talking. You could have had Shinso realize, oh no, because Machia is also jacked up on a whole bunch of quirks, but unlike the Nomus, he's still alive. They're fighting back. They're rebelling. They're taking over the body. And now they're helping us. They're helping us stop All For One because they were taken. They were stripped away from their original selves and forced into this poor creature. Now he's fighting with us. But no, the betrayal, which just isn't, like, I don't think the betrayal's true, but I'll stop pushing on that, because I bet y'all are sick and tired of me hearing it. However, with that being the case, we do get to see that Shinso apparently bet on his anger and gave him plenty of time to dwell on it. And now Shinso's just there as a safety measure, to essentially take Machia over again if Machia, tries to do suspect things. But once again, I guess Machia just can't hear him, which is fine. Shinso is very likely very quiet in terms of what he's talking about. But, dude, you're real people who betrayed you and drug you and brainwashed you and are currently using you as a gigantic living weapon isn't actually All For One this time. It's the heroes who you're currently fighting alongside. Like, bro, you can quash the All For One beef later. But we do get to see that All For One is like, okay, I see how it is. Oh, you filthy, dumb bubblegum built like a backwards person. I'm gonna come get you. And something that is very impressive, this is a Shinso feat in of itself. Despite Machia doing the dash and making it go fast, forgetting the fame, all he wants is them bands and getting All For One to prove he is the man. Like, despite doing all that, Shinso, while not wrapped up, while not hanging on to anything, he's just in Machia's main. Like, that's very impressive for just a regular dude to be holding on to Machia. And not even realistically holding on. He's not tethered to anything. He's not holding down on anything. He's just standing there through sheer force of will. Shout out to my boy Shinso. And we do get to see that All For One's manic glare did get Shinso to shake and start sweating a little bit. And we see Shinso even say, a lot of people say that I act like a villain, but my quirk has absolutely no control over what goes on in someone's heart. Yeah, the power of friendship, love, and shonen. This is the real superpower of teamwork. Now, notably, I am a big shonen fan. If you could not tell, I think, like, literally everything I review is shonen, like, one way or another. It can all be interpreted as shonen. But, like, I'll admit, the core, like, I'm a fan of corniness, though. That's the thing. I'm not sure what it is about My Hero Academia in particular, but when My Hero Academia tries to go corny, it kind of just, it doesn't hit the same. I guess that's the way I can put it. It just doesn't hit the same. Other series, when they go corny, chef's kiss. My Hero Academia, when it goes corny, and chef risk. But with that being the case, we do get to see that Hawks, once again, keeping up the corniness, is like, it looks like no one wants to read a story about the Demon Lord. But me personally, I would. But with that being the case, we do get to see that Machia now yelling and crying and screaming and lobbing. He's running in. We see Mount Lady, the GOAT. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm just biased. I'm, like, just straight up biased towards Maruko. Like, wholeheartedly. I think she has a better design. I like her basic character a bit more. I think her quirk is also really, really cool. I like the way she incorporates the Luna stuff into it, tying into the rabbits and the moon and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Mountain Lady's just a big old bruiser, but I respect the hustle. Like, once again, the arguably next to Endeavor and Bakugo, like, the best story of character development that Horikoshi wrote, but he didn't even write it. Like, it just happened majorly off screen. Like, Mount Lady has become arguably a top 5 My Hero Academia character in terms of writing, and she's only been in the narrative for a probably total of 2 chapters. Nah, more than 2 chapters, like at least 3. Like 60 pages, he's probably been only in the narrative for that long, and she's still a better character than majority of 1A, all of 1P, and like a lot of the heroes we've seen. That is crazy that she's such an amazing character who's come so far, developed so far, that she, while beat, battered, bruised, thrown around, and fighting a literal demigod, is taking this big old wrench and swinging it with all the force she can because she is a true hero. I love that. Once again, peak lady, dog. Peak lady. I'll admit, like, if I had to strip away my biases and just go by who had a better character journey, it's gonna be Mount Lady compared to Maruko, because Maruko just comes out the box as a complete character. She hasn't necessarily changed, like, at all. We've just learned more about her. But Mount Lady, Goated. I wish Horikoshi actually like wrote her though when we got screen time with her. However, we do get to see that she's not alone. Also, Tokoyami's lunching in, and they all realize that we need to keep attacking until he rewinds into oblivion. They are just stalling All For One out. And once again, All For One could entirely just leave. No idea why he doesn't. He could just fly up and leave. Fly away, but he does not do that, and we see that all of our titans converge on this massive attack, striking All For One. And then we cut away to the helicopter that was jokingly knocked out of the sky in the intro, and we see that we have to make sure that we don't get in their way. Yeah, that's why I brought our most expensive camera. We'll zoom in from afar, and we cut to these people, and notably, one of the people here is like, boarding a helicopter in this kind of weather? Did you lose your mind or something? You're here too. Did you use your mind? Like, admittedly, I do like the implications of this. Once again, I mention it all the time in these reviews, but the best part of My Hero Academia, next to Endeavor, like take 2 steps to the left and you have Endeavor, is the world building. How important the world is, how it ties in. I think it has one of the best built worlds in all of New Gen. Like, that's how good I think it is, just on a quantity level and quality level. But even still, even at the sacrifice of that, I will admit I do kind of not care about this, because we've already done something like this in another chapter. Remember the chapter with Gentle, where we opened up with that and showed the people recording this for prosperity's sake. And sure, this is definitely a different angle to tackle it from, but you can already have implied that with the previous chapter. But I can definitely tell the main reason Horikoshi probably did something like this is because it's a lot less taxing art-wise. Like, you see a lot of more blank panels, a lot of reused panels here. Horikoshi is very tired, so I'm fine with him doing it. These characters are a lot simpler to draw, and I bet it's even easier for his assistants to color these in rather than the massive, like, nigh-on, crazy 15 different characters all fighting together thing. It's fine. And we see that this woman is with the National Hero Association, as he says, right back at you. I just can't explain why. It's just something I have to do. I'm a reporter through and through. Shout out to Lois Lane right here. I could never. Like, notably, I could never do things like, you know how they had people travel to places that were devastated by war or like natural disasters and stuff like that? I'm not doing that. You can't pay me that much. Hey, come here. It's a live war zone. No, I'm not doing that. So shout outs to the people and the journalists who are willing to risk their lives and to do things like this. And this is a good example of it. And we see this woman is in fact from back in time, back from reality, and she realizes that the boy dressed in rags, aka Izuku Midoriya, was a UA student all along. And not even just that, this is the same woman that interviewed him way back when, way before even the sports festival, and is the one that was asking him about All Might. Once again, Horikoshi shouts to them. He's able to pull characters back from way back when. However, once again, in comparison to something like, let's say JJK, that's able to pull back characters from a long time. Or let's say something like, let me go way back into like Four Nights of the Apocalypse. We're willing to call back to a previous series. This woman doesn't have a name. She's just reporter lady. That's how important she is, aka not at all. So, like, I guess, once again, it works for the story of My Hero Academia, though, which is why I can't get mad at it. The point of My Hero Academia is even the most random of people, even the most non-characters of non-characters can be important, can inspire, can be saviors. And that's what this woman is, because that's her role and her purpose within the narrative. As she says, to think that such a boy could change so much in just 1 year. Like, yeah, this is all great and all, but, like, who are you? What's your name? Why did you become a reporter? It doesn't necessarily matter. We just got to fill the page space. And we do get to see that things are indeed popping off as she's in the helicopter and she's looking on a computer at the battle between Shigaraki and Midoriya. And once again, welcome to That Guy with the Pencil, where we slop off Horikoshi's art because it's literally insane that this is a human being that draws this. Now, is Horikoshi the best New Gen mangaka? No, I'm sorry. Boichi is right there. The Record of Ragnarok mangakas are right there. Some things in Record of Ragnarok I cannot believe are drawn by human hands. But still, regardless of that, the fact that Horikoshi, Kohei Horikoshi, I don't care that he has assistants, I don't care that he does a whole bunch with a whole bunch of other people, the fact that Kohei Horikoshi is able to conceive images like this, to put them to paper and actually conceive this gorgeous image of Izuku Midoriya blazed up with 120% of One for All, grabbing Shigaraki's wrist like a petulant child in Target, and also be able to draw awakened Shigaraki laughing his cheeks off with these beautiful details in his arms, his legs, his mouth, like everything, and his legs aren't even on panel, but I know they look good. Like, golly gee willikers, fellas, this is insane. Like, I cannot physically, like, I'll admit, I'm not reading My Hero Academia for the plot. I'm just not doing it. I've seen people say My Hero Academia is one of the best plots. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. I have no idea what you're reading, but it's not that. I'm barely reading it for the characters at some points. Like I said, I'm kind of disinvested in Shigaraki. Definitely never necessarily cared about Midoriya, even if I do respect his story and his writing. Bakugo is currently lying on the ground as a corpse. I have no idea how he's doing. He ain't coming back anytime soon. And Endeavor has been consistently teased at, but he hasn't showed up in a while. I'm not reading it for that. The main thing that makes me tune into My Hero Academia every single week is the fact that Horikoshi is just a deity when it comes to the artwork. Like, sweet mother of mercy, the man can draw. Like, as an aspiring artist myself, as Shakor, that guy with the pencil, I can 100% respect when Horikoshi just snaps. And he snaps every single week. Like, I swear, looking at this man all the way back in chapter 1, and looking at it from now, it's like so crazy. His art evolution is amazing. Even his basic art was amazing. This man's a top tier. Like, legitimately, he's only beneath a monthly mangaka and a literal demigod in Boichi. Like, I have no idea what Boichi does. I'm not sure what they slurp, what they taste, whatever they do to do that kind of artistic quality. Like, there are 3 people that scale above Horikoshi in terms of artistic quality. And it's Murata from One Punch Man. It is the Record of Ragnarok mangaka, whose names I unfortunately do not remember at this point, and it is Boichi from Dr. Stone and all of his other works. Those are the only 3 that I can say on a consistent basis do sheer art quality better. Are there other manga that do parts of Horikoshi's art better? Yes. I'd say in terms of fluidity and motion, Sakamoto Days and JJK blow My Hero Academia out of the water. But in terms of sheer art quality, Sakamoto's and JJK couldn't sneeze within a throwing stone's distance of My Hero Academia in terms of sheer art quality. So, top of the line, gorgeous. However, once again, there's only a tears for Midoriya versus Shigaraki. We cannot have the final battle before we have the other 3 battles wrapped up. So do not, once again, I don't think we're even going to see it this year. Being completely honest with you, at the rate that things are going, if Horikoshi's really sacrificing over half a chapter to just talk about new stuff, don't think this is going to happen anytime within this year. Because remember, we still have to deal with the rest of the Toga Twice situation with Uraraka and Asui and all that. We still have to deal with Endeavor versus Dabi. We still have to deal with the All for One battle that's been going on. We have 3 major battles we have to deal with. Then we have side battles that were set up that we haven't seen in forever, like the Aoyama versus that one assassin dude. There's so much stuff that still is cooking off screen that we still need to see. That's 4 major events that we haven't even touched on or completed yet before we get to the final battle. And considering, the final battle is the final battle, we're not going to see much of it until then. So I do think it was a drastic mistake to have Midoriya appear so quickly, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. And we do get to see that in this chopper, in this chopper, we do get to see that this is in fact not the only chopper. There's another chopper! Get to the other chopper! And the other chopper happens to contain characters we also know very loosely. I don't recognize the bird guy, but this is the woman that interrogated and bullied Endeavor for being a bad hero man because a whole bunch of people got in trouble. And I guess got in trouble is a bit of an understatement. A whole lot of people perished, like, at the hero's failure. And we do get to see that she even apologizes to her cameraman, a saucy bird dude, that I wonder if is a reference to Horikoshi's previous manga, Ogadamaki Zoo. But who knows? Because Hawks is technically a reference to the Birdman from Ogadamaki Zoo, so who knows? But with that being the case, we do get to see, hey, no problem. I made this choice of my own free will. I'm just that guy. And with Brody, in fact, being just that guy, we do get to see that this woman actually feels really guilty about what she's done. She's like, this goes beyond journalism. I need to undo the damage I caused. It's not professional. It's personal. And I will admit, once again, because My Hero Academia's world building is so peak, I can't even really get mad at her for simultaneously feeling that way, even though I don't blame her. Like, for her reasons for doing it when she did, yeah, the hero's failure was drastic. The world was fundamentally altered. We had entire other nations being like, yeah, we're gonna have to give up. Like, we just have to flat out give up. Like, we need to make sure that All for One likes us so we can actually continue to exist, because they failed. They failed. Sure, was it unreasonable to expect them to fight a literal demigod? Yeah, but still, they're heroes. They're the ones here to protect us. And it didn't help that a whole bunch of them were like, yeah, I'm not about that life. I'm gone. And thusly, they left. So I can't necessarily blame the reporters, the media, people for losing faith in heroes, because a lot of heroes prove that they didn't even have faith in themselves. But at the same time, I can understand why she would feel this way, because she feels responsible. Sure, a lot of people would have naturally harbored resentment anyway. I can't imagine how many people lost members of their families in just Machia's rampage alone, not to talk about when Shigaraki leveled an entire city. But with that being the case, she believes that hypothetically she made the situation way worse, and she definitely did, by the media pushing this idea that heroes suck, heroes fail, heroes are awful and booty meat and butt cheeks. Yeah, that's going to send a lot of them away, even more than ones who may have not retreated already, and that caused more damage. This kind of led to the Second War, where they have way less resources than they could have, and way less support than they could have if the media didn't push their failure so hard. And I like that. I like the implications and the weight and the fact that these actions did have ramifications. Her choices did have consequences, and that's great. I love when storytellers do that. That's why Horikoshi, even if I question a lot of his decisions, he can write peak. And we do get to see the Birdsman's like, it's not like we're on the clock. This time, we owe it to ourselves. And we see that she's like, it's the same for them. Izuku Midoriya isn't the only one on the battlefield. He isn't alone. Even though they saw their comrades give up and walk away, some of them have chosen to stay and fight because they're heroes. It's been reported that in many countries that Japan has been defeated, but there are still people who haven't given up. We're here to tell that story. And that's the only thing. This does feel a tad repetitive, right? Because we did have that whole gentle chapter. But I suppose getting the multiple perspectives is fine. Getting a new spin on it is fine. Using the characters from where they are, that was just the business course of students from before. Now we're getting the actual proper news media. We're getting people who've interacted with Midoriya. We're getting people who have had influences on the wider world, such as this lady who interrogated and blamed Endeavor. We're getting this, so it's fine. It's fine. I think I was being a little bit too mean in the initial spoiler reaction, but hey, it'd be like that when it'd be like that sometimes. And we do get to see that regardless of whether they win or lose, they believe that it is their duty to cover this, to make sure that this is at least recorded somewhere. So in the wreckage of whatever world comes after, people know what happened and knows that Japan did not go silently into the night, but went out with a roar of determination and fervor. And we do get to see that apparently every single day, the world seems smaller and more connected. So they're going to record what happens next. And we do get to see that Gentle himself, Gentle's heroic and chivalrous channel, has 7,600 viewers and explodes to 20,000 viewers. And it goes and goes and rises higher. And they'll show the world what is happening. And we see that people are asking, where's Japan? Isn't that All Might's country? And countless people look to see that it is not in fact over yet. The president of the US, people in back alleys, the guy who sent Stars and Stripes, the people on their phones, even former heroes like Death Arms are looking at their phones, watching what's happening. Villains, people from all different walks of life, they're all observing what is happening, the dangerous world that's going down, and the conflict that is occurring. And we all know that it's not over yet. Overall, super duper W chapter, right? As much as I clowned on Machia for being just explicitly wrong, and Horikoshi maybe making a mistake on how to free Machia and make him an ally for the heroes, I can let that slide. I can let a whole bunch of the cool cool visuals and amazing art carry the chapter for me. And once again, I love the My Hero Academia world building, so any more world building always helps, even if I find it a little bit repetitive. So overall, super W chapter, probably a solid 8 out of 10, if not a 9 out of 10. The Machia stuff is really, really big because that is just straight up a plot point that could have been done differently and been perfectly fine. But overall, I still think it's an amazing chapter. However, that's what I think. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure the notifications don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 $1 exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reaction to this very chapter. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.